Hi, everybody. This is Adriana. If you are new here, welcome to Starry Sky Readings. I'm a galactic astrologer, intuitive astrologer, and tarot reader. And if you've been subscribed, welcome back. I am doing this video for educational purposes only. So I want to make that very clear. This is not to sway you one direction or one person over the other. I am being very neutral and giving my astrological findings on these two candidates here for the US elections, which is in only a couple of days. So I'm a little late probably to making this video, but I thought it would be kind of fun actually to dive into their charts and to talk about it. So again, this is for educational astrological purposes only. If you're looking for somebody who is going to tell you one over the other, this is not the channel for you. Okay, so just want to make that very clear. As this is, something that I want to be informative, I also want this to be a little entertaining too. So I'm gonna just try to have fun with it. I think there's a lot of seriousness going on, as there should be, because there's some serious problems in the world, right? But I think, we also have to have a little fun. So I'm going to be as informative as I possibly can with both their charts and my findings, but also for a little bit of entertainment. So you can check the timestamps below. I should have some posted in the comments. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris's astrology charts. The similarity, which I find kind of interesting, is they both were born on a full moon. Okay, so pretty impactful energy. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Yes, let's just look at Donald Trump's chart first here. And I'm going to talk about some prominent alignments in his chart, and then I'm going to talk about some prominent alignments in Kamala's chart. Do keep in mind, too, I am going to say some things that are going to be critiques as well as positive things about both people, okay? So if that is part of the astrology, so again, I'm not saying one person's better than the other in this video. That's not at all what I'm doing here. So it's just like if I was giving any other astrology reading. So there's going to be critiques, challenges, and positives, both their charts and in anybody's chart. Okay, so first things first, the most prominent thing that I found in Donald Trump's chart, he has what's called a yod, or also called the finger of God. Yeah, and we know that obviously there is a big religious factor with him. So it's not surprising, to be honest, that he has this. It's kind of I would call that divine synchronicity for him to have that. So what is a finger of God or a yod? So just to show you down here, this is what it looks like. So it's between his moon sign, which is Sagittarius, his midheaven in Taurus, and Saturn in Cancer. Okay, I'm going to talk about those placements in a minute, but a yod is a rare aspect pattern indicating a karmic mission or life purpose. Okay, these are formed by two planets in a sextile here, and one at the apex in quincunx. So it signifies deep, fated challenges that push individuals towards spiritual growth and transformation, according to Times of India, which I have pulled up on my laptop here. That's why I'm looking this way. So, yes, very prominent. So he's obviously, felt a big life calling here with not only running for president again, but in his work that he's done. So we have his moon sign in Sagittarius, very outwards, external, outgoing type of character here with his emotions, that fire energy there. And then his midheaven is in Taurus. So not surprised to see that there. It's also, I believe, in the Yes, so moon is in the fourth house. So yes, I was gonna say family being very important to him with his moon sign there. So yes, I think most people could see that anyways, that family is very important to him. Um, his children, especially, I think. And yeah, so his midheaven, his kind of career path being in Taurus, no surprise there that he's been very much, brought into that business type of mind, business world, economics. He's very passionate about the economy and things like that. Interesting too, how we have Saturn coming into play here, which is in the 11th house in Cancer. All right, so Saturn is the ruler of karma and things of that nature. So yeah, there's a lot of karmic things that he has had to deal with this placement here. So especially when it comes to his business and economic endeavors, obviously when he was president as well, it was a lot of, I feel, karmic clearing coming through. So making changes to things for the structures of the way that things were in place for the United States, very prominent there. His moon sign's also making, we see up here, a multiple planet opposition. So he tends to have a lot of challenges with um his emotions and his life path, which is, his North Node is directly opposing his moon sign. So there's been a lot of challenges that he has faced that has affected him on a personal level with him following his life path. Obviously, when anyone runs for president, you're going to be met with many challenges and things of that nature. So I just thought that was also very interesting to see. He's got a lot of Gemini placements. You see here. So yeah, the moon was full. Um, Kamala Harris's chart also shows that the moon was full. Let me just go over to hers now. So yes, she was also born on a full moon. They both were. So I thought that's pretty interesting. So very impactful people, bringing about change here, ending cycles. That's what I think of with full moons in general and the moon in general too, like ending cycles, completions here. So they both have set out to do that in some way in their life. Okay, so Kamala Harris, I'll go to her highlights now. So I think I'm just gonna kind of bounce back and forth a little bit. So I did Donald Trump's like main highlights, and now I'll do Kamala's main highlights, and I'm going to go into some galactic astrology as well, so some fixed star placements that they both have. So yeah, Kamala Harris's biggest highlights here that I've seen. The biggest thing here, we got a castle alignment in her chart, also sometimes known as a pentagram. So she does have a pentagram placement in her chart there. What the heck is a castle? It's funny, I was just talking about castle alignments in my most recent video, if you want to check out on my channel. It was the Heart to Heart astrology podcast that I do. And I explained in our Halloween episode what a castle is because we actually, funny enough, we have a castle alignment just like this going on right now, currently. And it's actually lasting throughout that first week. So the first week of the elections that's going on. So funny enough, she has that in her chart. Her sun sign is in Libra, so it's part of this castle here, and it is, of course, opposing the moon since it was a full moon when she was born. Her moon sign is in Aries, so we got air opposing fire. And then her midheaven is in 2 degrees Pisces, very Pisces there. So yeah, very physical. So I do want to talk about her midheaven too. So her midheaven, and it is, yeah, again, in Pisces, this calls for her to do some sort of work that involves helping other people. Pisces has, the Pisces fish, it has two natures, right? It has the two natures of the Pisces fish, kind of like Gemini. It's very similar. So there's the two natures of that. So there's the good and the bad. So her midheaven shows up in her work as a prosecutor that she did. So with that comes some, good and bad stuff. She's probably made some really bad decisions. She's probably made some good decisions. She's probably helped a lot of people, and she's probably not helped a lot of people. But ultimately, her midheaven does guide her to help others and to find some sort of healing that can be done. So a healing path does call to her. Um, but again, that can be met with challenges as sign of Saturn is conjunct her Pisces. So that's why I think it's been kind of tested with that good and bad nature of Pisces. Um, Pisces too, with this particularly, can relate to addiction, substance abuse, and things like that. So I'm sure she's seen a lot of things like that in her work, and has been met with a lot of challenges when it comes to prosecuting people under those types of um, charges. Okay, so Saturn, going back to that, is conjunct her midheaven. So it's been pretty, yeah, karmic for her with her career. It's been a lot of karmic challenges. She's tried to do it in a different approach with it being in Aquarius. She's tried to do it in a more, uh, how should I say, more humanitarian type of way. But, Saturn's not very comfortable in Aquarius and vice versa. So it has been met with a lot of challenges for her when it comes to doing that type of career. So that is part of this castle. We also have her North Node in Gemini, and let me just check what house that's in. It's conjunct her ascendant. Okay, so first house. So yeah, a lot of the word actually identity politics just popped into my head. Identity politics. I don't really know what that means exactly in the sense, but yes, I mean, obviously, if you're a prosecutor and running for, vice president and now president, there is going to be a lot of sense of identity coming in there. So being in Gemini too, very talkative, a lot of speaking, trying to be as informative as you can with things. So, yep, that is part of that. And that does make a grand trine also, as you see that big triangle here. So, yep, this is again part of this castle. So, okay, with all those things looked at, I won't go too much in everything else because this video would take forever. The castle essentially is about spiritual, psychic protection. Okay, so having a sense of needing a sense of safety and protection here. So maybe she is actually, very intuitive herself or psychic in some ways. Whether or not she's tapped into that or not, I'm not too sure. But there is a need here for some sort of, um, I feel like she has to kind of protect herself in a way from because she is dealing with a lot of different people and a lot of different energies. That only makes sense that she would need to protect herself from that type of stuff and not get sucked into the more bad side of things, the more negative side of things. So I think she can be, because of this placement here with her midheaven and Saturn, I think she can be more prone to getting sucked into that if she allows it. Mars is also opposing that. So yeah, definitely some conflict there, and that's Mars and Leo. Yeah, so I think she does kind of present herself in a way as a very like structured type of person where she kind of I feel like she kind of has a wall up around her a little bit. I think as she's been running for president, she's kind of tried to, I think, let that wall down a bit more as she's tried to, relate with people and open up more and empathize with people. So, I do get that sense of like almost she's had to have her walls up, her emotional guard up. Like she can't really let her emotions show too much, especially in the type of work that she was doing. So, which can be good and bad with that. You want to have a little bit of empathy, of course, but you also don't want to, you know, get too emotionally drained in that type of work that you do when you deal with people and things like that. So, again, can be good and bad. Also, there's something with Chiron I saw. Yeah, so interestingly enough, too, Chiron is in her 10th house, which also relates to career. So, again, it's very similar to what I was feeling with that midheaven and Saturn here, with those karmic things. It's like she's being guided to do this sort of work that helps healing the collective and helping other people. Um, but Chiron in Pisces is is kind of her Achilles heel here. So even though she's kind of guided in this direction, Chiron in Pisces, this is where her how should I say, her weaknesses kind of show in the work that she does. And I think part of that again can go back to perhaps maybe if she's prosecuted people for certain drug addictions or things like that, because again, Pisces can relate to addiction problems, and sort of substance abuse and things of that nature. So just something to note there. So yeah, I think she's been met with a lot of challenges in her career overall, is what I'm seeing here. And I'm sure with running for president. So she might see that even if if she does become president, she might see those challenges. Okay, so yeah, I think I've said enough about all that. She does have a couple T squares, kind of similar things of what I was saying before, some challenges with that. Yeah, that T square too with Saturn looks like it can just really blow up things out of proportion. Um, it's at Mars, Jupiter. Let's see. Mars, Jupiter. Yeah, there was something too I saw. So like I said, I don't remember if I said in the beginning, I am a past life reader, so I found something interesting with that. Is something I think may have, here's her galactic chart. So looking at the fixed stars, something might have happened in the past life actually with Kamala Harris and having some sort of head injury, because Jupiter is in her 12th house in Taurus, and Algol is conjunct Jupiter. So she might have actually had some sort of injury to the head in her past life. This could also have something to do with finances as well. Jupiter was retrograde when she was born, and in the sign of Taurus, it could have had to do something with finances. Even, yeah, it feels almost like a struggle with not she didn't have enough financial stability, or maybe really struggled in that past life. But algal conjunct this with Jupiter might have showed that maybe she suffered some sort of illness, or something involving her head, which is interesting because Donald Trump also has a very prominent algal placement too. So I'm going to switch over to his chart. So that was just a little bit of a past life interpretation. Not diving too much into that, but Donald Trump, though, looking at his galactic chart, I thought this was very interesting. How interesting that Algol is on his midheaven. So, like I said with his chart earlier, he is being guided to do something involving, the economy, money, business, all those types of things. But Algol is right there on it. And as we know, he had two, I believe two now, or maybe even three. correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for sure two assassination attempts. Obviously, the first one actually did go right, past his head or on his ear. So yeah, algal being placed there, um, yeah, definitely would entail some danger there to head injuries and assassination attempts with him running for president. So thought that was very interesting to note there. So also looking at some more fixed stars for Donald Trump here, and then I'll go back to Kamala Harris's chart. Looking at his sun sign here, his sun again in Gemini, on top of his North Node and Uranus, they're all making these conjunctions to the constellation of Orion. So I'm going to give a little quick um, history of Orion. So the mythology, Orion is signified or shown as the hunter, and he was a hunter who hunted alongside Artemis or Diana. So if you're familiar with Greek mythology, he hunted alongside her, and he, unfortunately, as the myth goes, he thought he could, because he was so great at hunting, he thought he could hunt every creature. And the Earth, also known as Gaia, heard him. She didn't like it. I have a video on this, by the way, if you want to go on my channel. Just look under Orion, my videos. Essentially, she didn't allow him to do this, so sent a poisonous arrow, I believe, to Orion, killing him. But Artemis asked and pleaded with Zeus to make him part of the Orion constellation in the heavens. So that is what formed this constellation. So yes, Orion the Hunter here, he has a lot of placements to these fixed stars that make up this constellation. What does this mean? So let me just quickly look. I think he also has a conjunction at Capella too, but going back to his most prominent one, this is almost exact. 0.01 Miesa, I'm probably butchering that. Meisa, I'll say Meisa. And if anyone knows if I'm saying that wrong, feel free to correct me. So Meisa in the Orion constellation, there wasn't a whole lot on this one, but look at this though, guys. On the side of his face, so it's on the head of Orion, the hunter's head. I don't know about you, but I think that's kind of I don't believe in coincidences. So, and even in the picture, it almost looks like it's by his ear. So, I just found this, literally before recording this video, thought that was interesting to share. So, yeah, and then with it being in his head, this fixed star, it is showed and explained as it's embedded in high heaven with his countenance remote. So basically his head is very much immersed in the heavens or in heaven. So yeah, kind of goes back to that Yod a little bit, I'd say, that he has in his chart. So definitely that he is, after some sort of a significant impact in what he is trying to achieve and is guided to do so. Obviously, too, with it being in the Orion constellation, he is going to have a very strong will. And yes, his he I think everybody knows that he has, quite a bit of an ego, as we could say. So that definitely shows through with Orion aligning there with his sun and his North Node, very much so, especially when he speaks with Gemini. We think of speaking, communications, and things like that. Sometimes that comes out. Maybe, maybe I should say more than sometimes that can come out. But he's definitely a fighter and on a mission to achieve something And yeah, so let's see. Also we got some other fixed stars. I just want to see if there's anything else I should. I think that was the main one. I mean, we do have some other ones. We have Procyon on Saturn and Venus opposing. Oh yes, also wanted to mention the vertex was making a trine too to his midheaven, so it was a fated energy that something was going to happen when it comes to him running for president, doing something with, economics, especially with Saturn. I mean, Capricorn, that's ruled by Saturn, of course. So creating businesses with the fifth house, creating, you know, all these different things that he does and has done. That was very much a fated energy that was going to happen with that trine there to the vertex. And not only that, but with this assassination attempt happening. Okay. So, um, yeah, I think, that was something he probably should have been told to watch out for with running for president. Also, yeah, so Regulus, I wanted to just quickly say, is on his ascendant in Leo. Regulus actually is kind of seen as the lion, the heart of the lion um, in that constellation. So it's very much that lion-hearted type of energy. It does, you know, I know some people won't like this, but again, I'm just reading what I've been taught. Regulus does have a very angelic nature to it too, so I think his ascendant kind of guides him towards that, such as, again, there's this kind of spiritual and religious factor coming into play in his chart again with um, this angelic alignment, especially with Archangel Michael. So he might feel a very strong connection to him. Also, since I talked a little bit, very briefly on Kamala Harris with possible past lives, I'll just quickly say for Donald Trump too, with his 12th house, I see he has Mars aligning to Alphard in Leo, Pluto also in Leo. Yet I almost feel like I get this sense he might have been some sort of warrior in a past life. He went through a lot of transformations and challenges. I think he was not only a warrior but a leader, especially with Leo placed there. Um, but it was very challenging. It feels almost very dark too. So it might have been just very, yeah, very challenging and very difficult. Um, yeah, definitely feels like a very much a warrior leader type of energy from a past life. But again, if I would have to go into that more for more details, so just take that with a grain of salt. Mars is making a square too to his midheaven. So I think kind of what I was saying like, before with sometimes his ego kind of comes out a little too much with things. So yeah, his midheaven there with his career. Sometimes maybe that's needed, when you're a businessman and you are in charge of people, sometimes you need to have that assertiveness, right? But yeah, obviously when it comes to certain things, that might be something that he's really had a challenge with this particular square is yeah, not letting his anger come out too much or his ego to come out too much. So, but that's the most prominent square actually. So, but yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to share with Donald Trump. I'll go back now to Kamala Harris's fixed stars alignments with her galactic astrology. So, yeah, now that I was thinking of squares, she also has a Mars square, and it's to her Jupiter in the 12th house. Again, aligning to Algol here. Mars in Leo in the third house too. She's had maybe some challenges with siblings. I'm not sure if she has siblings, or people in her community, perhaps. So a fixed star that I wanted to point out with Kamala Harris's birth chart, her sun sign. So I looked at Donald Trump's sun sign and his fixed star, and a couple other ones. So I want to look at her sun sign now too, and she has a conjunction with this fixed star called Izar, part of the Boots constellation, and it's very tight at 0.13. And again, her sun sign is Libra in the fifth house. So, what I found that was kind of interesting, it's actually, I don't think I have it on this computer on my laptop, so I'll just read from it. This is according to astrologyking.com. Love Astrology King, has great insight onto fixed stars. So, um, Izar, so and the Boots this is talking about the Boots constellation in general, okay? So it was revered by ancient peoples, especially in Africa and South America, as a star from which their ancestors had first come to this planet. Okay, so obviously, you could take that with a grain of salt, however you will. I wouldn't, I do star seed readings, so I wouldn't say it's, impossible. Again, I do past life readings, and that includes ones off Earth as well. So again, take it with a grain of salt. But I thought it was interesting because I know there's been a lot of this controversy with her ethnicity and all these things, right? So, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure from what I've read is that she is of Indian and Jamaican ancestry. So Indian from her mother's side and Jamaican from her dad's side. And then her mother has the Caucasian also on her lineage. So obviously Jamaican, they have African ancestry. So I thought that was kind of interesting that that was on her sun sign there, this star. So, these people from these ancient times um, believe that their ancestors had come from this star or some planet from the star system in Izar, or I'm sorry, from Boot, the constellation itself. So some planet in that constellation. Um, So kind of, I just thought that was kind of interesting. I would call that some sort of, synchronicity there, to be honest. So, take from that what you will. It is her sun is making, I believe, a trine to her Saturn. So kind of funny that, and the fifth house too is about creation. So I would say that could even go back to, ancestrally and maybe even ethnically speaking. So I think it's kind of showing in her chart how that gets played out, I guess, through Saturn here in the ninth house, as we've seen. So just wanted to mention that. Thought that was interesting. All in all, I've kind of already talked about this with her midheaven, but she does have a very tight alignment to Fomalhaut, this fixed star here, and it's at 0.57. So again, very tight orb there to her Pisces midheaven. That just kind of reiterates what I was saying earlier about her midheaven. I'm actually kind of surprised she didn't try to do some sort of spiritual or healing work, especially with that midheaven in Pisces, or something, um, someone like a counselor type of role who helps other people. And I think that's part of the challenges that she's kind of faced with that Saturn and Chiron being so close. So, Saturn's conjunct, but Chiron being in the 10th house, which the midheaven is part of, influences her career very heavily. So it's kind of, yeah, brought on some wounds there. So yeah, I've kind of already talked about that, but I just kind of wanted to reiterate that again with Fomalhaut being so tightly conjunct there. Um, there's another star here that also is, but I wanted to focus on Fomalhaut because it's actually the tightest orb compared to Deneb there. Um, Akinar is on her Chiron. Oh, before I say that though, I meant to say too, Fomalhaut is one of the four royal stars, and kind of interesting because Donald Trump also has a conjunction with a royal star, which is Regulus. So they both have one of the four royal stars greatly impacting their chart. They both do. So another, little similarity. Hers is on her midheaven, his is on his ascendant. But just something I wanted to mention. So Kamala has on her Chiron a very tight orb conjunction to Achernar, part of the Eridanus constellation. It's actually represented as this river. The ancient people used to see it as kind of a mirroring of the Nile River. And Achernar is the very last star at the very, very end of the river. I don't think even I think only certain time periods could the southern hemisphere see it. But anyways, it's interesting with her Chiron there in Pisces. So, again, river, Pisces, water. Intuitively, I feel like this is bringing kind of it's like a spilling over of things. So, with her placement, here in Chiron, it's kind of giving the reverse effect of its more promising fortune here, which is, as it says from Astrology King here, if it's well placed, it promises happiness and success by giving good morals, faithful adherence to one's religious beliefs or philosophical inclination. Um, Also up here it says about industrious, receives honor, preferment in public affairs, success in business. So since it is in Chiron, that is where it's instead of giving that successful positive energy, it's actually doing the opposite and kind of working against her. So kind of giving her a hard time and struggles when it comes to public affairs and business matters, especially since it is in the 10th house. So yeah, again, this is kind of going back to those problems she might have been facing as her time as a prosecutor and maybe even before then too. There was something else too. So also I mentioned that Donald Trump had Orion placements. Kamala Harris also has Orion placements on her ascendant. So kind of that similar energy there. She's, I would say probably, as we've seen, very much, fighting for her beliefs and going after, what she wants. And of course, since she was born on a full moon, just like Donald Trump, her moon is opposing her sun sign, so her head and her heart tend to clash with one another, especially with her Libra kind of mindset trying to be rational in things. Her emotions in Aries can come on really strong, as that Aries nature can tend to do. So there can definitely be a clash with her head and her heart, once again, that she has probably often struggled with here. The moon makes a conjunction to a whole other galaxy, the Andromeda Galaxy. So very interesting to see that as well. So um, coming on from a very, I get the sense intuitively, very very passionate emotions that go along with her belief systems, going to Saturn here because it's making that sextile there. So very passionate in her beliefs. All right. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about these two. I could go on and on, but ultimately, I think this was probably enough, and hopefully you gained some insight from this reading. If you enjoyed this video, please like this. I am still a very small channel, so the algorithm, does help if you like the video. I know we get annoyed hearing people say that on YouTube, but it's true. If you can, please subscribe and check out my other videos and stay tuned for any other astrology videos I have coming out soon. Thanks so much for watching this and see you guys in the next one.